And we're live. All right. Welcome everyone to this 9x live workshop on finding AI use cases for your business, where over the next 60 minutes, we'll be sharing a few frameworks and also some building blocks, actually making this a bit practical about how you can actually go about setting some of these use cases up. So this is the agenda that we have in store. I'll give a quick introduction, and then I'm going to hand over to Alex to get stuck into some frameworks. And of course, we'll be covering the different AI use case patterns, like what we like to call the building blocks for these. But before we get underway, a quick introduction from our side. So we are 9x. You can find us at go9x.com. And it is basically our mission to make learning AI and automation as simple as possible. We really believe that AI and automation are the most important skills to learn as a business professional. And it's basically our mission to deliver these skills to you on a silver platter. And we do this in a few different ways. First of all, through our YouTube channel, where each and every week we're publishing AI and automation tutorials, some of the latest news, as well as demos for you to check out. It's completely free. So as always with YouTube, make sure to subscribe. We actually crossed a nice milestone this week. We crossed 40K subs a couple of days ago, thanks to our last video on
Boom.
Nano Banana, a very topical topic.
Give
And
us some bananas in the chat.
yeah, Alex needed to sneak in a little animation there since today we crossed
I
the
had to update slides like it's already outdated.
Exactly. So make sure you join the fun and subscribe to our YouTube channel. I believe we've just sent a link there in the Zoom chat. Then on top of our YouTube channel, the way we're trying to share these skills with as many of you as possible is obviously in our live workshops, like the one you're currently in. We run these each and every week. However, there will only be two more until the end of the year after this one. So be sure to join next week. We're going to be joined by Sherik from Ben AI, who runs a productized SEO agency, all about moving into the AI first way of doing SEO, which is a massive topic. And we'll again drop the link in the chat. And
And
then,
and maybe to note on this one,
yeah,
uh, the guys at BenAI are among the best in the industry. They're really like I'm really looking forward to this one because this is more advanced implementation of AI systems. So if you're into SEO, you cannot miss this one.
absolutely, absolutely. And it's going to be a combination of what is the system that you can build to be ready for this new way of GEO, as they're calling it, but also exactly that. There's going to be a first part on understanding what has actually changed, right? The way we used to rank on Google is now completely different to how you can rank on ChatGPT, Perplexity, and all those sort of things. So if that's interesting, make sure to join next Thursday. And then finally, through our AI and automation courses that we've sort of designed to take you all the way from beginner to advanced. We have our AI operator, which is really about using AI as a co-pilot. So learning the basics of prompts, the foundations of understanding how to use AI at work, all the way up to our advanced program, the AI builder, where you can learn to actually automate with AI, building AI-powered automations all the way up to agents. And in case anyone out there is thinking of buying this course today, it would be the biggest mistake you could make.
Don't buy it today.
You should not buy the course today. And Alex, why should they not buy the course today?
Because they should buy it tomorrow.
Exactly. So tomorrow, Black Friday is happening, and we are doing our biggest promotion of the year. There's been some links dropped in the chat. The promotion is not live yet. It'll basically become live at 9 a.m. tomorrow, Berlin time. So keep an eye out. You'll probably receive an email or a couple of emails tomorrow on this one. So sorry in advance for the spam. But also, yeah, check the link tomorrow, and then you'll be able to make the most of this promotion. Perfect.
Awesome.
So that shameless plug out the way. Or Alex, anything else to add?
No, see you on the other side on Saturday.
Exactly, exactly. So with that announcement, shameless plug out the way, let's get into some frameworks. And I think now here's a good time. Alex, do you want to take over and share your screen?
Are we good?
Yep, we're good.
Okay, super. So I'm going to give you today not one, not two, not three, not four, but 5 frameworks to identify AI use cases. I was waiting the whole week to do this. Not cheesy. So we call them in no particular order. The 3 R's, the time frequency matrix, journey map, animation out, the 4 core AI actions, and the new AI first process. All right, so there's some of them I think you will be able to guess with me. Others, we'll see. So first, simple framework. If you are looking for good use cases to automate, first mistake we see often is people coming with a tool. Hey, Jan, I just signed up to Lindy. What can I automate with it? How do we feel about this starting point, Jan?
Well, I think it's more before you should even go and grab a tool. You should probably know what you're going to do with it, right?
Exactly. And so one very simple framework is to look for the 3 R's. R standing for repetitive. So the task you perform frequently in the same way each time. For example, if you're entering data in systems, it's always the same process. If you're generating a weekly report, weekly means repetitive. If you're uploading documents to Drive and that's part of your routine, not bad. Rule-based is the second R. So the tasks that are performed via clearly defined step-by-step rules. Because there are things that may be repetitive, but if they are different in nature, if every time there's a little bit of a twist that you bring, it's going to be harder to automate. So what's rule-based? Approving low amount invoices. Assigning tickets to a team member based on information in the ticket. Updating CRM records. And I already spoiled the third R. Routine. Tasks that usually don't require creative problem solving. With the caveat now that some creative problem solving tasks will be not automatable with AI, but at least you can get some serious help and not start from a blank canvas. But in general, if it's routine, you'll be able to automate more of it. Things like sending deadline reminders to make sure people hit their targets on time or complete their task before the next meeting. Distributing employee surveys, this is routine, uploading product listings, and so on and so forth. So first framework, it has nothing to do with any tool you may use. Look for the 3 R's, repetitive, rule-based, routine task. Maybe you can let us know in the chat if there's with that, you can think of some tasks to automate. And I don't want to hear AI agents, AI workflows. I don't want to be an internal tool. I want to hear you talk about things you do. That's the key part. All right, framework number 2. Should map processes by time and frequency. We are not consultants, so we very rarely do the following. So there's one of the very few 2x2 matrices you will see, but we really think this one's valuable. So you're going to take every single task/process that you have to do in order to run your business, to run your team, or to work. You're going to take every single one of these, and you're going to ask yourself the two following questions. How much time is needed to complete the process once? And then high or low? Do you have a lot of time each time to complete the process, or is it going to be a couple of minutes? And then on the other axis, you're going to look at the frequency. How often do you complete this process? And then you end up with a quadrant. And this is going to help you define which are the things you should automate first. So first, you have the stars. If it's high frequency and it's high time to complete the process once, if you're able to automate it, this is basically the ones that will be the most valuable to automate, even partially. I'm not talking eventually to automate absolutely everything, but you should look at the stars and see which ones are automatable or pieces of it. Then you have small wins. Why are they small wins usually? What's the difference with the star? So first of all, it's low time to complete, so you're going to save less time. They are small wins because usually if it doesn't take a lot of time to automate, means that there are probably less steps, which means there's probably less complex to replicate with no, automation platforms to perform the exact same tasks. And so there might be quick wins. There might be things that you could get rid of in the future entirely because, yeah, it's 1 or 2 steps.
And I think here, Alex, the big thing on the small wins that's massive is these are the ones like something that doesn't take a lot of time to do, but you have to do it so often, high frequency, is it's like they're the 5 minute things, but like every time you need to do them in a day, it distracts you from doing a meaningful task, right? And so
Mhm.
the small wins are also those ones. It's like if you have a 5 minute task in terms of you doing it, but it also distracts you. If you have to do that every single hour, this 5 minute tasks, it just kills your productivity altogether. So that's like the
Yeah.
small wins, but it's stuff that absolutely compounds.
Next, so star, small wins. Next, you have investment. So here, those are more question marks because they don't happen that often. You may spend a lot of time every time you have to complete this process. But since it happens less often, you may want to consider case by case because one thing that we're not putting in there is, of course, you're going to put this in front of the time it takes to automate, the investment it takes to automate partially or entirely that process. And so you will have here definitely more complexity than in this quadrant. And so for the same amount of time, if like you have the same amount of time that is spent there and there, usually those are harder to automate. So it's a bigger investment to automate. And so these should be evaluated case by case. And then you have this, the time wasters, where Git has charged. We've probably automated hundreds of these in the past just because we could. And you should not, or you should really have the discipline of looking for the items first that are on the first 3 cells of the matrix and avoid the time wasters, even when it feels good to automate them. So mapping processes by time and frequency. And let's jump into an amazing template. We're super biased because we made it. That Jan is going to showcase the automation roadmap, where you can do
Exactly.
that.
Yeah. So I think you should all be able to see my screen now. So
Yeah.
the automation roadmap, this is a template that we created, which is based in Airtable. We also have another version that's available in Notion. And this is really from when we are working with companies on these AI transformation programs that we do. There's often a need of putting everything into one central place and following some of these rules that Alex just laid out there. And it's very important. And even all the way to if you're just a small business owner, you're doing this for yourself, actually taking the time to set up an automation roadmap, it has a lot of benefits. So where I just want to showcase quickly, and here I just want to mention how we put so much emphasis on it. So inside our AI Builder course, in the very first module and the third lesson here, we have a whole lesson dedicated to this automation roadmap, showing you what it is, how to actually map this out, how to identify automation opportunities, some of the things we're covering today, but going into a lot more detail. And then here at the bottom, we have this automation roadmap template that you can just copy and start using for your company. And especially if you are someone, a RevOps manager or a CRM ops, any sort of ops manager, if you're building for other people in your company, setting something like this is so important because there's also another factor of actually showing the impact that you're having within your company. And the same goes if you are an agency. So very simple, a template that you can just clone here. We have the Airtable base with some mock data in it, but it's more, what's more useful is like, let's say the interface here that we have set up. So you have your roadmap section, but it actually starts off with the analysis, and we have some dummy data in here, and it starts out by mapping those processes and exactly what Alex mentioned. So if I take an example here of an account transition, so the process here is ensuring a smooth handover of new customers to implementation and account management teams. Here, what we do is we just basically list out the steps. So what's involved in doing the process once, what are the outcomes, who are the teams involved, what are the tools involved, and what are the different objects. And here is how we can actually go about understanding and calculating our return on investment about automating some of these. But before we even do that, we need to identify which category is this tool in. So let's say, how much time does one of these account handovers take to complete once in minutes? I'm going to say maybe 45 minutes. Right now, I'm doing everything manually. I have to go through all of the emails. I have to go through the contract, prepare everything for the account management team. Maybe I need to update some fields in HubSpot. Doing this once takes me 45 minutes.
When it's
Now,
done, that's also
then,
the thing.
yeah,
When it's done.
when it's done, exactly. And now here, right now, we're probably working on a weekly basis, and things are going good. And in the whole team, let's say it's a sales team of 10 people, we're able to close, like, let's say 12 of these deals a week, 12 of these handovers that we need to do. And so now you already get your total time here in hours. And this one is put as low time, but very high frequency. It's something that we need to do a lot. So in a month, we're spending almost 40 hours, which is almost one person's full job on doing this account handover. And then we can go through and fill out and start planning what are the different automations that we could contribute. And here we could either add some time savings, or we can actually calculate this on the whole process level. So maybe I would assume as a version 1, it will probably take me 2 days. So here I'm going to put like 16 hours of effort. And maybe then we can automate, because that's another key thing is whenever you're building an automation, don't always think about, hey, everything needs to be automated. And unless everything is automated, it's not worth doing. That's absolutely not the case. Maybe, and especially when it comes to AI use cases, quite often you still want a human in the loop, but you want to just automate as much as possible. So let's say this is going to be able to automate 80% of this process. And then here we can very easily calculate our ROI of building out and automating 80% of this process. And you do that for the rest of the processes, and then you're left with a list that really shows, okay, what are the stars, what are the quick wins, what are the investments, and what are the time wasters that we should just not automate at all. So that's our automation roadmap. I don't know, Alex, if there's anything else you would add on here.
No, but if you have no, I think the Airtable AI is on every Airtable account.
Yeah.
So we also have the base is AI powered. So if you enter your team, your department, sorry, you will be able to generate some sample processes. And if you have once you have documented, so these are AI generated, just to give you examples, with an Airtable automation. And once you have a process, if you have a process that's very well documented inside this, you can also generate automation ideas. So if you need a little bit of inspiration, this base can also help. Yeah, all of these automation ideas were AI generated. Of course, there is a source of inspiration, so some of them might not be applicable to your case, but I think it's a good way to, if you have like blank canvas syndrome and you wanna figure out where to start automating a particular process, also a template that can help you do that.
Perfect. All right, Alex, should we check out the next framework?
Let's go. Let's do the hardest part of the whole thing is me taking back control on Zoom. All right. So the first two frameworks were simplifications. This one is when we have some bad news, which is if you really want to automate processes, you have to do the work. And doing the work, what I call doing the work, is mapping your journeys or mapping the different customer journeys of each process. Having a clear picture of every step along the way, and then looking through every step at what could be automated. So this is the groundwork. Now, thankfully, if you have this first part of the equation, which is documenting your process, if your process is well documented, we know in which tools things move, we know the different conditions to move to the next step, then you'll be able to also use AI nowadays to suggest some automation ideas. And so if we take the example of a lead that visits your website, then signs up to your product or for a demo to your product, we'll get a confirmation email that the sign up worked. And then this triggers an in parallel sales process where the lead gets assigned someone in sales is then going in the CRM and sending an outreach email because they got the lead assigned, and then we book a meeting. If we look at these steps of a process which are like very classic in software companies or in digital businesses nowadays, there are tons of opportunities there to automate things. So, for instance, when a lead signs up, they might just leave their email and full name and maybe company name, depending on what you've set up on your website. And enrichment will allow us to collect much more information about that lead, which then will also help us do better routing. So we'll be able to figure out whether it's worth assigning that lead to our sales owner or disqualify it right away. And the sales or our owner or SDR or sales manager, instead of having that back and forth with the lead to potentially book a meeting and have that initial discussion, there's also a lot of opportunities in that way where you can enroll that lead in an onboarding sequence with several emails. You can have a booking workflow with a calendar link, cal.com or Calendly, and so on and so forth. So when you map your journeys, only when you go through this level of detail, and the important part there is the inputs is a clear picture of the process and the different steps. Once you have that, you can go more granular and look at opportunities. It is very rare that you can take a whole process and say, now I want, and in front of that process, you put one solution. You are going to dive into the different steps and find automation opportunities everywhere.
And
Oops.
I think a big benefit, similar to like what you said before, is like when you build an automation, you're not going to automate 100% of every single process. And the same here is right now we're looking at one journey, but there's multiple smaller opportunities, and it's also the best way to approach it, because sometimes you say, hey, like we're wasting so much time on our inbound flow. We need to automate the whole thing. But you'd make a massive project and you start chipping away at lead enrichment, lead routing, onboarding sequence, booking workflow, all at the same time. Take one piece first. Okay, what can we do to improve lead enrichment? Build something, get it out, get it up and running before moving on to the next one. So also splitting it out into these smaller opportunities actually helps you ship and iterate faster.
And nothing feels better than shipped.
Exactly.
All right, two more, which are more AI focused. First, looking at what you don't do today. So what do we mean by that? We're all short on time and resources. We all have busy, packed days. And one thing that really changed with AI is that there are many things now that, and I'll give you a couple of examples afterwards. There are many things now that soon will take for granted, that as if they've always been there, that we did not do in the past, and just AI is taking care of them for us in the background. I'll give you an example. I don't think I've ever seen a company taking meeting notes on every meeting and sharing those meeting notes 15 seconds after the meeting is over. But with AI, with the different meeting note takers available on the market, we don't have particular recommendations there because we use 3 or 4 internally. You're able now to attend every meeting, have the meeting recorded, the meeting notes transcribed, summarized to you, and even with some combination of automation platforms, you can even automate the next steps and trigger, for instance, save the follow-up tasks in the tool where you have your tasks. And so it's helpful when you want to look at your use cases and potentially what you'd like to do, is to have a look at what you do today and to look at the things what AI could do for you. And instead of focusing on that region here, and I don't know how broad this, maybe the circles are getting a little bit closer year on year. But instead of obsessing over where will AI replace me and am I going to lose my job? Why don't we look at everything AI can do that we anyways don't have the time to do? And so another example would be, we will never have the time to look every week at a competitor's website or all our competitors' websites. I mean, in general, as a company, like we don't do that, but like, if tomorrow we wanted to check like all the AI trainings just to get that information, we will never have the time to do this because there's always better things to do than checking what the neighbor is doing. But an agent could, a research agent could, and um, it might be a very good use case. It would make sense to build one actually for that purpose because we know that we'll never compete with AI on this use case because we don't have time to do it. So there's a very powerful framework there to think about, think outside the box, and the box is what you do. Last one. This one is more practical and should give you also ammunition to formalize what AI can do and turn it into a use case. The four core actions that are enabled with generative AI. So first is generate or create. For instance, so it can generate documents, can generate videos, images, text. This we're all aware. So whenever you are generating or creating something, you have to write an email, you have to create a draft proposal offer. All of this potentially AI can support. Then in summarizing. Uh, Typically, so if you have a meeting note taker, you will not read the meeting notes. You will rather read the meeting summary notes. It's a bit shorter and it's more actionable for us humans. You have extraction. AI is very powerful for extraction. So here, let's assume, for instance, you get a very lengthy report that may talk about your company's product. You have two choices nowadays. You can either read the whole report. I mean, sometimes it makes sense to do that, especially if you need to be informed in your industry. But in many other cases, it also makes sense to just put the report inside Gemini or ChatGPT, ask whether there are any mentions of your products, and you're done with it in the minute. And finally, we can categorize. For instance, if you have customer reviews, so more plural, because if you're looking at customer feedback and it's a single email or a single review, I think humans can still read a single email or do these things. But once you have volume, you don't really have time to categorize everything. But that data would be very valuable. And so using AI for that, having clear labels on what are the different types of feedback we get for some customers, or what are the different types of sentiment we want to track, can use AI for that. So the four core AI actions, and you will see in the next section where we are going to go through AI use case patterns or building blocks, you will see that this repeats as well. Anything to add here, Jan, before we jump into the...
No, just the fact that it repeats, but it's also in a lot of AI use cases, and we'll also get to that at the end. It's also sometimes a combination
Yeah.
of the right, and then I think that's the most important part. Once you can summarize something, and then you're probably going to be actually using AI to generate some things out of that summary, and understanding these four core use cases, but then how they interact with each other, and when you combine these, that's where it really unlocks, I guess, that level of like understanding what's possible with AI.
Alrighty. Let's look at AI use case patterns. And I'm super excited. Why? Because you're going to be the first seeing this. And that's what I'm currently working on as new content for the course. We mentioned AI operator. We mentioned AI builder. But this is coming in December. AI starter. It will be free. Launching in December, free. I spilled the beans. Next time I will rework my script. But anyways, I'm super excited. This course will be an introduction, so we'll have a mix of that. There's going to be 3 lessons. One on what we call AI first operations, which we believe is really the next wave of companies are going to operate this way. Not with AI replacing human, but AI really doing the heavy lifting for us so we can focus on high value tasks. So AI first operations, the sort of like the outline, what are the different ingredients to operate this way? What are examples of companies that are already operating this way? Then we will have a lesson on the AI, the AI tools landscape, which has changed dramatically over the last 12 months. What kind of platforms should you look at for which use cases? And finally, the last lesson will be on use cases, and we'll be covering this. So AI use case patterns to repeat and combine. So some of it might be still draft, some of it might be a bit perfectible. This is why, because we're still finalizing it and refining it. So if I have a mistake, just let me know in the chat. Hi, Stephen. So some patterns. First, there are patterns, pre-AI automation patterns, what we call automation. So really like Boolean, if this, then that logic. And with those, like we're big fan of these. Why? Because when there's no AI, there's no randomness. When there's no AI, there is, if you've programmed it the right way, if you've configured it the right way, you just turn it on and it runs forever. And that's a beauty. And so you have things like data transfers. So much time is wasted just copy pasting things across tools. Data transfer just does that for you automatically. You have also data syncs, and there's actually tools for that that we will show you in the course that are great if you need to collaborate. So you have two different teams collaborating on different systems, and you really need that real-time data in both platforms. Then we have routers. We're going to see this example now, or later. Like I'll just cover the whole mosaic, and you will see routers are everywhere, and it's really a pattern that I'd argue any business, big or small, is seeing. Once we're done with automations, we have AI workflows. So what's the difference with AI workflows? You are going to call AI inside an automation. And see, we have those patterns, those 4 core AI actions. We have some of these here. So you're going to have summarizers when you're going to have a large chunk of data, documents, a lot of information, and you want the good stuff. And so you're going to use AI workflows to summarize things. You have extractors, they do a different operation there. You want to make sure extract specific data points from unstructured data. And then we have generators, and there this actually, we will start with generators, but I think this category is so broad that we might end up with a lot of subcategories there. Where you can generate offers, you can generate emails, you can generate LinkedIn posts, but you should review them because LinkedIn posts should be with a bit of a human touch, please. Then we have agents. So AI agents, we think there are many patterns. These are not the only ones. So I think those columns are going to get longer. We start with 3. Research agents already mentioned. So we won't see an example today. We're going to see an example of an internal agent. Actually, one of our like good new coworker, right, Jan? This one's pretty spot on. Very helpful already. And also inbox agents. So every time you see an inbox, starting with yours, I'd argue you can put an agent on top of that to help you process that. Not respond automatically, but to help you process, draft the responses, edit, and so on. Then we have alerts, notification. We're big fans of having notifications that alert us of what's going on. When you signed up to this webinar, there was an alert, but there was also another alert that enriched you so we could see who you are. There was, I think there's the only 2 for the webinars. But we have many alerts that just warn us of important things we want to monitor. Some of them can be interactive also, meaning it's an alert that requires my action. You can use that for approval flows, for instance. And we're going to see a reporting alert because you can, why go inside dashboards? Well, you can just push the metrics right into where you already work, Slack. And finally, you have apps. There also, I think we'll have more categories in the future, but an app starts with a survey because a survey is something where you can, like a user is going to give out their data, is going to leave information. So surveys have a very powerful, underrated form of application. You have portals, which are great if you need collaboration with external users and you want to blend your internal systems with external users. And we'll see an example of internal tool. We're big fans of internal tools. We'll show you one of ours that we use on a daily basis. All right, so now we're going to look at 5. So one router, one extractor, one internal agent, one reporting alert, one internal tool. Are you ready? So what is a router? A router is an automation that's classifying and routing items to the right destination. So what's the blueprint of a router? You have a source and you have usually several destinations. This can be a different tool, this can be different teams, this can be simply different properties you want to assign, like it's a hot lead or it's a cold lead. And in the middle, you're going to use an automation platform or a workflow builder to route with logic. That's the first option. And that's the one we recommend. So routing with logic means we're not using AI at all. We have objective factors. Company size is more than 200 people, route to VIP. If it's below, route elsewhere. We'd argue most routers should still be built this way because it is reliable. It does, when it's very, very well configured, it just does work all the time. Now, the second option nowadays is you can just take all the parameters that you have. So again, the example of our lead, you could say like, this is the company name, this is the size of the company, revenue, etc., etc. And then you give it to a model and you say, route for me. But beware, this is, you're basically delegating that decision to a model. Do we always understand what the model thinks or does? I don't. So why build a router? You want to stop manual triage. So you want to eliminate, like there are hundreds of, maybe not even hundreds, like thousands, millions of people doing every day manual triage for the teams. So you want to stop doing this. This is madness. You can automate triaging of items with a router. You want to prevent misrouting because when it's done with humans, it might not land at the right destination. And you want to enable complex coordination, especially when the routing rules become very, very complicated. Technology beats humans. And it's not a fun job anyways. Some example of routers, and Jan is going to show you a live example. Lead to rep router if you're in sales. Routing leads to the right rep. If you're in marketing, inbound leads router. If you're in support, routing the support ticket to the right team. If you're in people, maybe candidate CV router. If you're in finance, if you're handling invoices and you have some invoice exceptions, routing those. Legal, if you start having large company with a lot of incoming requests to legal, to anyone outside of legal, legal is legal. To the legal team, people are specialized in different legal topics, and certain people can answer certain questions, and so on and so forth. So routing to the right person matters. And
perfect. And I think, Alex, you keep sharing your screen because this one I've just got a slide for. So here's just
So one example would make it Zendesk.
Exactly. And so this is just a simple example of a multi-language customer support router. This was something, so I actually checked recently. I was amazed that this wasn't a feature in Zendesk. And I think now it's only since October in the early access program or something like this is the translating of tickets. So imagine you have a universal contact at company.com email address where you're receiving multiple support requests from your different customers, from your partners. These will naturally come in different languages, but you only have a team working in English, so you need some translation to happen. This is a very, very simple example of a router that can do that, where first step after the email comes in, we're going to use AI to identify the language. And here I want to point out those different core actions that we saw before. So that would be an example of categorizing. What language is this email written in? That is something that's very difficult to do in pure automation logic. Maybe you could like map some certain words and say, if it contains these words, then it's probably French. If it contains these words, then it's probably German. AI can just look at the email and understand exactly what language it's in. It's very, very simple. And then you can then route if an email is in a different language other than English, before we push it to Zendesk, we're just going to have AI translate that to English. And then in the Zendesk ticket, we both have the original email from the person and the translated email that our team can work on. And then you can have the reverse going back out. And now all of a sudden you have multi-language customer support, which you didn't have before. And just that whole part here of combining the translate text part, that would be then a example of generate of those core actions. So first we're categorizing and then we generate. And as Alex mentioned, this isn't just for languages. Imagine you had a support email come in. You could also have routes for different departments. So first you have AI analyze, what is this email about? Is this email that should go straight to the customer care team? But actually we see it's an invoicing question. So let's send it straight to the finance team. Or if they have a question about a new plan they want to change to, maybe we send that straight to the sales team. So there's many different examples of this same pattern, and it's one we see all the time.
Amazing. A little router. Second, extractor. So what's an extractor? It's a workflow extracting data points from unstructured content. So the key part is unstructured. The blueprint, to have some input, maybe it's a document. Maybe it's could be a video. Unstructured, and at the end, we want to extract some parameters. Say it's an invoice, I want to know the amount, I want to know the date, I want to know which customer, the company name of the customer. So what do you do in the middle? Take an automation platform. You'll see like we like automation platforms. They're quite useful. And you're going to ask the model to extract those data points for you. Why build an extractor? Because also it's quite boring to do this anyways with our eyes. But first you want to unlock trapped data. So there's a goldmine of information in your documents that you're not acting on right now. And again, if we go back to the things that you don't do today that AI could do for you, this is a prime example. We're not going to go in Google Drive and read the thousands of documents for that extra data point that may prove useful in a handful of cases. We want to do this programmatically. We want to stop manual extraction. We want to get rid of those tasks that involve humans extracting this. It's not fun to do. And we want to eliminate bottlenecks because in some cases, this data is valuable. You might have volume spikes. So you have like, for instance, many invoices to read, many documents to proofread, and humans can go at a certain speed. It is, again, not the funniest task to process or to be given. And so AI here can really, really help and speed up the process. Some examples. Are there some examples in the chat? Some ideas. What could we extract? Invoices. Invoice extractor. So give an invoice, extract the product that was sold, the vendor, the amount, the date. If we are in sales, our sales meeting notes, once we have that, we could extract some parameters. Action items, next steps, pain points, instead of going through every call. Customer feedback. If we want to extract feature requests, what are our pain points? What was the sentiment? If you want to extract, you're given a resume, you want to quickly extract some facts like an applicant's past jobs, their skills, seniority. If you're in marketing, website content. So back to our monitoring use case, you're going to pull the features or the pricing instead of going on every single website. If you have a lot of competitors. If you're in legal, extracting terms of a contract. Does not replace reading the contract, but can prove quite handy. Here's another example with Make, Gemini, and invoices that Jan is going to show you.
Let's do it. All right, here we go. So the idea is here that for every invoice that the company receives, we want to, or we need to track this in a clean way, and we want to have it standardized. So here I'm just using Google Sheets as a very simple example. This will most likely be whatever finance tool you're using as the end set of this data. And we've got a simple automation set up. We have here, we just want to make this as, imagine you're a small company, you just want to make it as easy as possible for the team. All they need to do is when they get an invoice, dump it in this Google Drive folder. So let me go and upload a sample invoice. And let me go here to sample invoice that we have. And this is the thing as well, is every invoice you receive from different companies is going to look very different. It's not going to be like that you can just say, hey, go down 20 pixels on the page and extract this data. But this is something that AI can do very, very easily. And notice here that we actually have an invoice which is in or a combination of German and English, it looks like.
Nice.
So upload this one. And then we have a automation platform, as Alex mentioned. So here's an example in Make that just says, hey, whenever this invoice folder receives a new file, we're going to download that file. We're going to go and give it to Gemini. We're going to get Gemini to extract some data points. And I can quickly show you here the prompt that we're using. This might look a little bit technical, but all of these are type of practices that we cover in our program of how to prompt for structured output. So what this is a JSON structure so that we can tell the model, hey, I want you to get the invoice sender address, the invoice number, the invoice date in this specific format, the total amount, the currency, and eventually we're going to save all of that to a Google Sheet. So let me just run this one.
And the magic.
Let the magic happen. Even like Gemini is getting quite fast now. I think this is even still running on the old 2.5 Pro model. So we haven't even upgraded this to 3 yet. And now what's happening is we uploaded that file to Gemini. It was able to read it. And you can see here it extracted the different data points from our invoice. Let's go and take a look at that Google Sheet. And you can see now here we have the data formatted the exact right way that we want, including the date. And we have the currency here, and we have a link back to that invoice. So you can basically keep a track of everything. Just to check that this wasn't a fluke, let me now go and upload another invoice. So now we have this invoice 13. You can see totally different format. This is coming from a French company again, but also
Beautiful design.
Yeah, exactly. From Germany to France, beautiful design. You see everything is in a different place. We have some English here as well. Let me upload this one.
And in the meantime, so Jonas had a question. So invoices are super sensitive. I cannot send it to an LLM in the US. How you deal with that? You just swap the model to a model in Europe. This is done with Gemini, but you could use Mistral. There are other models there.
Exactly. And what I would even say before that, so this is really about like the automation platform is great because you can build for your use case. There are already a bunch of tools that do this as well that take care of all of that compliance, right? So we're not saying that we're big fans of automation platforms, but if you have a tool that can do it for you, you should probably use that tool as well. And this is something that's just becoming more and more standard. But let's now have a look at that second invoice, and we can see here that perfectly landed as well, and everything is now standardized in the right format. AI is very, very good at understanding that, for instance, in this invoice, it was written März, like the German word for March, and it's able to just convert that date without any issue. So it's really about just showing what's possible with extraction.
And before, so I'll show the rest, but Paul also had a question. I'm a freelance accountant, but slowly transitioning to finance. I use AI to create drafts and templates. It seems AI is not yet reliable for complex spreadsheet tasks. I think this is coming. There is a beta of Claude for Excel. So Claude, the model from Anthropic. Spreadsheets are still uncharted territory for AI. Gemini and Google Sheets is a joke to this year, but I don't think it will last for long. So there are also SaaS applications that are trying to tackle that. I think it will come from Microsoft and it will come from Google directly. And I would expect it to come next year. Maybe when it comes to Google, we'll have things in Google Docs and Gmail first, and Google Sheets last. But I don't think this situation is going to last.
No, and I think one other thing on that, which goes back to the same principles that we keep repeating, is like even if it can't do all of the tasks, it was the same thing. A lot of people with AI thought like, hey, I can just go and dump a massive CSV and get it to do an analysis, right? And it should, like, maybe we have a list of emails and we want to extract just the email domain and we get AI to do that. It's far better. And Alex, you actually released a video on this one. Right now, where we're at is just AI can be a co-pilot helping you there. So rather get AI to give you the formula about
Yeah.
how you can extract an email domain, you go and then still as a human in the loop, need to paste that formula, drag it into your spreadsheet and validate that it's correct. But that's still a far better use case right now from an efficiency point of view and the way that LLMs work. They're very good at helping you work with spreadsheets if you're not an Excel expert. And I think, as Alex said, very, very soon they'll just be able to do the whole thing.
Amazing. Now let's show you the best use case of the day, the
Let's
one
do
we're
it.
proudest. Also, one of the most recent. So, what is an internal agent? So, we're skipping to the third category. Um, I'd argue it is probably one of the most useful type of agents we can have out there because it is basically going to help us process tasks that we do inside tools ourselves. So that's an agent that supports in completing tasks in internal tools. And the blueprint, it's an AI agent that will have two things. It will have usually access to team chat, so you can talk to it. And so it can notify you when there's something that requires your attention. And then the agent has tools access. For instance, it will be able to update things inside your CRM or send an email on your behalf, all these kind of things. Why build an internal agent? You want to use this type of agent if you have context-heavy tasks. So if you want to summarize something and then act upon it, so for instance, and we'll show you an example with the CRM in a minute. If you want to summarize where you stand with a particular customer and decide on the next step and eventually write that next email or create that next task, today you need to open many tabs. An agent can start from pulling info from multiple sources and has like that starting point will take it just a fraction of seconds or a couple of seconds to get to the same level of context that would take you minutes. Avoiding switching tabs, so you can keep on working in for us, our place of choice is Slack, and it's much faster than humans for this. Like the thing is, you're still in charge. You are talking to it, but it is doing the grunt work for you, and that's a quite powerful use case. I will have more examples in the lesson in a couple of weeks. I will give you a teaser with that example, which is our sales pipeline agent built on top of our CRM. So our CRM is Atio and using Make and Slack as the interface. Here we go.
Let's do it. Let me share. So this one uses Slack. Now, obviously, well, as Alex said, this is something that we are using. There's a whole point. It's called an internal agent for a reason. It's something we're using internally. So I actually had to take that Slack message and redact it a little bit. So I've just got some screenshots here in Notion, but then I'll also be showing you a little bit behind the scenes about how this one is actually built and maybe a bit of a background as well. So at 9X, we're a team of 9 people. We do not yet have a head of sales, a chief sales officer. Also, the 3 of us as founders, none of us have a background in sales, and it's not something we are particularly good at. So then the idea came from Alex is why don't we actually just have an agent that's our head of sales that kicks us in the butt when we don't do the things that we should be doing from a sales point of view, because we're a small team when we're currently working with a company. We've signed a few companies. We're doing the training programs. All the focus goes towards, hey, let's actually deliver this thing and have a great experience. And we drop the ball on the sales side. So we actually have this sales pipeline agent, as I like to call it, our sales butt kicker, because that's what it does to us. And it proactively will reach out on Slack and give us an overview of the different deals that we have. And more importantly, like, what are we not doing right with this deal? And so we have a very detailed here, a Slack message that we get, obviously redacted, with a timeline of how this deal progressed, an analysis of what's going right, but also what are we missing? So here there was no proposal presentation sent, no agency recommendation shared, no follow-up email after
Killers.
overdue
So good at sales.
not completed. What the F are you doing, guys? Are you just like posting on LinkedIn all day and not doing your sales follow-ups? That is
Guilty.
exactly what this sales agent is really doing. So even here, committed to sending presentation, pricing, and agency recommendations during the call. 7 days of complete radio silence since then means we've broken momentum on a hot lead. This is just like crushing our souls, how bad we are doing here. And then obviously what sprung into gear, Alex gave a quick follow-up message saying, hey, what did we promise to share? That was a week ago. I've forgotten already. It's not in
So
my head.
organized.
Give me a detailed list of what we should share. The agent straight away, bang, here it is. And we basically sent, well, Alex, you sent this email, I think an hour later, and we are now progressing here. And so I think this is a really good example of an internal agent. Let's take a little bit of a look under the hood of what's going on. And so this is again, in a make scenario, you can build this in N8N or any of the agent builders. But first of all, it all starts with a deal in Attio that's maybe been dormant. We can have different triggers. We also have the ability in Attio when Alex and Piv are doing their weekly sales review, they can just go and press a button and this agent kicks into gear and basically checks out everything that we need to know about this particular deal. And then we have two different sub workflows, sub scenarios. And this is all about getting context. And context is a massive keyword that's becoming more and more, like, let's say, spoken about and emphasized when it comes to dealing with AI. Because to get an output like I just showed you, that AI needs a lot of context of what's happening. In their training model, they will have no idea that we promised these 5 different things in a live meeting or that we didn't send any follow-ups. We need to give the agent that context. So we have 2 different workflows here. First of all, we go and get all the context out of our CRM, which I'll show you in a second. And then we get all of the email context. So it knows that we haven't actually sent anything. And then we run our agent. There is a very detailed system prompt under the hood. But in terms of when this agent runs, it's just very simple. It's, hey, here's all the context that we have in our CRM. Here's all the context from the emails we've exchanged. Now go and see where we're at with this deal. Now, the next screen will probably frighten a lot of you, but stay with us. But this is what that scenario looks like in terms of getting the different context from our CRM. And this might look like, holy hell, how will I ever build this? But when you really break this down piece by piece, it's a lot simpler to understand. So here, what are we doing? First of all, we're getting the notes of the deal. Everything that happens afterwards is purely just a formatting exercise. And we basically started simple, and then you iterate through this. This is just making sure that the information is formatted in a good way that the AI can read and understand this. Because what we're getting here is we're getting a lot of different data points. We're getting the notes of the deal. We're getting any tasks that we've had about the deal. Then we're getting any people that are connected with the deal. So anyone that's connected with a deal, have they enrolled in any of our courses? Have they signed up to any of our free tutorials? Have they come to any live events like the one that you're all in? Have they been in any inbound meetings? And have they requested any workshop brochures from us? And all we're doing here with all of these other modules is simply just putting this in a chronological order, because all of those deals, all of those different data points will be in, like, let's say, one form, and we're just formatting this for AI to understand. We also then go and get the meeting transcripts, and you can just pretty much like iteratively build on and give the AI more information, which is going to end up with having better results. The workflow, the sub scenario here that gets our email details is a lot simpler. So we just go off and we loop through every person connecting with a deal. What emails have we exchanged with them in a certain day period? But a workflow like this can then create very, very good results. And maybe Alex, you can say a few words on the impact this has had from a sales point of view.
I'm better at sales. No, it's great because so the hard part, so when you have limited time, the hard part is in the follow-up. A lot of deals slip through in the follow-ups. I guess many of you can relate. Sales is important, but you also need to service your customers, and so it is a difficult balancing act, and this is typically like it's always the same. It is always the same, and having that initial analysis, like the first time we did a pipeline review and we had to do it manually, I was not accepting it. It's like, how can we spend so much time on every deal? And that idea came out quite naturally that we could help there. The interesting part is the first version was really like, how do we get all that context? And now that agent is able to do many things. We so there's the recommendations. This is one thing, but the other things that we're able to do, besides asking questions, is having it create follow-up tasks for us. And we're going to extend some more capabilities as they make sense. You can add notes as well. Um, and that is going to be, I think, a major asset for us, and a major contributor, and just helping the existing people get more productive there. And a question in the chat: how do you handle hallucination, inaccuracies, or other quality challenges? Well, we are doing that with the way we retrieve the information. So there are alternatives. There are APIs that allow you now to retrieve, to basically, you connect your tools. So it actually is a great service we also use called super.work. That's a great API. You can connect it to Notion, to Attio, and all sorts of services, and then you can ask questions. The thing is here, we wanted to control the retrieval to prevent hallucinations, to make sure that only the input we've selected is going to be used. And so this is one way, is really we have full control on what gets retrieved. We can decide what makes sense to retrieve or not. Then we dump that into the prompt for the agent, and then we get the summary. So that's one technique. That is not the only one. And as retrieval APIs like Super will become more precise, or maybe give us more control, we might also switch to only using an API like this and specify that.
Yeah, and I think one more thing I would add, we actually like there was a similar use case. We did a hackathon with a company earlier in the year, and this was a very similar use case that someone did. They ran a similar analysis on companies that had churned, right? And so it's not in a deal prevention, but hey, there's like companies that are churning. Let's pull in all the context of what tasks, what happened, what outreach came from our retention team, and in a lot of cases, it basically said, hey, there were no emails were sent, there was no task completed. And in some instances, these things actually happened, but the problem is no one was updating it in the CRM. And so what an agent like this also does is actually makes you stick to, you say, hey, like every time we send an email, that needs to be tracked in our CRM. Every time we have a new task, we should actually log this somewhere. And when you have an agent saying, hey, no one's reached out to this customer for 3 weeks, and someone says, no, I have been doing it, but then it actually gets people in these good habits of actually making sure the data set is clean, because you have this agent ass kicker, as I like to call them, saying, hey, what's going on and why aren't you doing this?
Amazing.
All right, Alex, what have we got next? What's the fourth?
Something lighter. I love the when we go over time like this. Have we ever not run over time? The question.
I think it was more, let's just say that we actually planned a 90-minute session, but
Yeah,
we
exactly.
definitely
It's
made it. Our
more.
agent, our event creator agent made a mistake and just booked in 60 minutes.
One more thing, actually, two more things. Reporting alerts. So what's a reporting alert? Schedule summaries with key metrics. And summaries that you're going to push. For us, our platform of choice is Slack, but that could be WhatsApp, Telegram, Microsoft Teams, basically where you are communicating. What's the blueprint? You're going to take the source, or usually a SaaS application. If you want to summarize metrics in your CRM, the source is your CRM. If you want to summarize some insights on your recruiting, you're going to tap into the data of your recruiting tool. And you're going to use, surprise, an automation platform to calculate the metrics. And finally, serve that wherever you want to get the report. And so for that, there's different flavors. Pre-AI, you could do that with a heavy amount of data transformation. And that's still something we'd recommend doing if you're able to do that. So if you can pull the data, calculate the sums, the averages and so on, the percentage change, and we still recommend doing that once and well engineered, without AI involved. But nowadays you can also give your data, tell AI to produce the report, and with solid prompting, you should also get to the very similar results. Why create a reporting alert? Because it's awesome. It kills manual reporting. You don't get in, like you will get insights instantly. You're not going to spend hours building the same report over and over. Sounds like a 3R type of task. You're going to avoid dashboard neglect. That's the thing. I loved creating dashboards in the past. Didn't like it as much when I realized nobody was looking at them apart from me. That's usually more efficient to push metrics where people already have their eyes rather than hoping that they will find your dashboard you built for them. You want to streamline distribution. So the interesting part with the reporting alert is where do you put it? So you can give it to one person, but you can also, and it's what we tend to do in our workspace, we push it in Slack in channels where there are different people there. And once you push a reporting in the right channel, this becomes a topic of discussion. And so distribution is very important there because you're going to be able, going to ensure with this type of build that key data is consistently shared with the right stakeholders. Just pick your channel, add the right people in the channel, and we're good to go. Some examples. What can you report? Well, everything you report today could be a reporting alert. So marketing, social media reporting alert. Every week, let's pull the impressions, engagements of our posts and see whether we did better than last week. Sales. This is our butt kicker is going to do this very soon. Customer success, net promoter score reporting alert. Very classic, a bit of calculation there, but not too complicated and very useful to get the pulse of how satisfied people are with our solution. Product, you can track bugs. Support, SLA. Yeah, you want to make sure we respond to conversations on time, that we're not breaching the internal SLA or the SLAs we've committed to with our customers. Not in the dashboard nowadays. You want to push that inside the Slack channel where the support team is working. Finance, unpaid invoices reporting alert. Could be an example of it's not just an invoice in this case, notification in this case. It's also something we can directly act on and combine maybe with a tool to process those unpaid invoices to follow up with people. And we have another example. This wouldn't be a proper 9x Live without a little Lindy. And Jan is going to show you our student submissions reporting. So because we don't just sell a course, we also care. We look at whether you fail or you succeed at the exercises. And if you fail, we try to make the exercises better.
Exactly. And we do that as again with distribution so that it's shown right into our face with a Slack notification that's coming here into this log submissions channel. Again, this is a Slack screenshot in Notion because we need to do a little bit of redacting. And so every single day, we have this report that said, okay, what did our students do yesterday in terms of submissions, completing exercises, and they give us feedback. How did I go? Was it green light? Everything was good. I could do it. I have no questions. Was it orange? Hey, I managed to get it work, but there's some things I don't understand. Or red light, there's no bueno. I don't understand. I'm blocked or something's gone wrong. And again, this is something that we need to be alerted to. If we see all of a sudden that from one day to another, there's 20 red lights, I mean, something's up and we need to jump on this. And we also have some information on the top students so we can see who's currently going through the course. As Alex mentioned, this is something that we've actually built in Lindy, which is probably not normally a way that you would build such a report. But I really want to show you why we did it this way. And first of all, to get an understanding of that is along with this like midnight summary that we get, we also have every single submission that one of our students does also comes as an individual item. And that's just in an automation platform from our learning platform in Thinkific, goes through Make, and we send the Slack message. Someone submitted a green card, orange, red, and we know exactly what exercise they did this on. And we wanted to spin up this quick, like let's say, summary reporting. Of course, you could go out and build another monolith make scenario that I showed you before. But actually, this was something that Alex, maybe you can share afterwards how long this took you to spin up. It's quickly spun up in Lindy, which is an agent builder. Maybe that's overkill for such a use case. But what's brilliant here, we just say every day at midnight, or we can also manually trigger this. go and get all of the Slack messages from that channel. So rather than, again, we already have done the work with an automation platform. Every single submission gets sent to Slack. We don't need to go and do another API call to Thinkific and aggregate all the data. You say, hey, agent, look at these Slack messages and basically give us this summary report. So we get all of the Slack messages that got sent in the previous day, and we get our agent here to create the summary and then send the report. This is like an automation setup that's all written pretty much in plain language. And maybe Alex, now you can share how quickly this.
Brag, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
One prompt, like a series of prompts. So I didn't configure a single module. I just described what I wanted. I don't think I one-shotted this one. I reviewed. So the important thing when you do it with AI is what you see here in the prompt, the part on the exact report format. Because if you say, here's some data, report on this, you will have some variation in the final format. But if you put a exact report format like we did here, and I think there's even now there's no example at the bottom. If you do that, then you will enforce the same reporting format to be outputted each time. But yeah, like the 10 minutes with the agent builder that you see on the left.
Yeah. And like one thing to be very clear on is, let's say tomorrow, hopefully after Black Friday, if we have from one day to the next 1,000 submissions, this will probably break, right? Because then maybe this get daily submissions, it only gets the last 50 or something like that, and it's giving us false information. But right now, that's not the case. So we're just like, hey, we have this data already. Let's quickly get this report up and running. And then that's the way we sort of like to approach it. We build for the scale we're currently at. Then we see, okay, these numbers are increasing. Maybe it makes sense. We have a Ruger in our team who builds our internal automations. We can already go and give him a working prototype and say, we already know the exact format it should be in. We already know like when it should be sent. Now go and build this massive Christmas tree in Make to get it working in a more robust way. But otherwise, if we would just say, oh, let's build it 100% correct from the start, it probably would have never been built. And Alex, somehow I think you're on. Yeah, perfect.
Yeah, there was a question. So from Dan, why doesn't it scale well in Lindy? So this is the amount of data that needs to be ingested here. So if it goes up, like we're giving Lindy, or in this case, Claude Haiku 4.5, the data that we got from the submissions. So it's text inside a prompt. Like that's it's a prompt, and we inject the data in there. Every AI model has what is called a context window. So it can get a limited. Now it's a lot of characters now, but it has a limited context window. So eventually, if we get, as Jan mentioned, 1,000 submissions, 1,000 times, I don't know how many characters we'll get for each submission. This is going to start to be a lot, like uploading a book in Claude or ChatGPT. This is going to lead to, so either we're going to go beyond the context window. So here in this case, it's not going to work at all. Or worse, what will happen before is it's going to start to hallucinate. Like if you give it too much data, it's not going to calculate the right metric. And so there, it is helpful to know data transformation, where you will be able to. So this is not a complex notification. We're counting the number of submissions. We're counting the number of green ones, of red ones, and of orange ones. So you can imagine the make scenario or the N8N workflow that would replace that. It's basically filtering and counting per type. And then we'd have to do something with the list, but the top student list that's at the bottom would limit to the top 10. And so you can recreate that. It's more reliable, and this one will not break because it is going to be just data transformation and arithmetic. So.
And I think one thing to add as well is there's the context window. And also right now here, and it's what we cover as well, is like, what are the ideal use cases for large language models? Typically, counting isn't one of them. And what you might notice now, if you ask ChatGPT to make some calculation, or Claude, 2 years ago, it would just go and give you a number and say, yep, I know it, it's perfect. You ask it again, it'll probably give you a different number. What it's doing now more and more is actually writing code, because that's what it's good at. It's good at generating. It's not good at, like, counting wasn't one of those 4 core actions. Maths wasn't one of those 4 core actions. It's good at generating code that can do the math. And that's how they typically solve it. And it will now it's giving us good results when we have 30, 40 submissions a day on top of the context window size. But if that's 1,000, that's just more chance where you're asking it to do something that it's not very good at, basically. And so then this is an ideal use case to move this to a pure automation. But we really did want to include this because we want this philosophy of be experimental, build quickly, get prototypes out, and then move to the next level. If you're sitting there the whole time saying, I'm not shipping anything till it's perfect, you won't ship anything.
Yes, and it's also one thing when you are so this one, because I knew it would take me 10 or 15 minutes, and I really wanted to see what's on the other side. I just built it. But there's a lot of things I built that are not, I don't always look at my quadrants or my 3 Rs. Sometimes I just want to build something. And so if you can build it quick, that's also another framework there. If you can build it quick, there's value in building it, running, turning it on, and seeing what impacts it has. And so here in this case, well, that's pretty good because it helps us getting a full picture when we get a lot of submissions of whether there's many people struggling or not. And there's value in this one. It would have taken, was not a certain investment to build that, to ask someone inside, internally to build that, spend half a day building the proper automation precise with Make or with NA10, because the value was not certain there. So when you have the opportunity to prototype it with AI and see whether it's valuable to you on the other side, you shouldn't hesitate.
Perfect. All right.
Nice.
And we got one more left.
One more.
Then let me stop
One
sharing.
more thing. Internal tools. So what's an internal tool? It's a custom-built app for workflows that off-the-shelf software, the SaaS applications you use, cannot handle. This one, I really want to stress this because using solutions to build tools that you could buy elsewhere is probably the biggest waste of time you have, unless you really want to practice your building skills. But building a task manager or a CRM, when there are thousands of CRMs out there, is usually not the smartest use of your time. So unless you have a very, very unique CRM use case, you should look for one of the 1,000 CRMs. Out of the 1,000 CRMs that exist, the one that best matches your need. Blueprint. Okay, here I was a bit lazy. I will think about how, like what goes into that. So there's a front end, there's a database, there's automations in the middle. But basically, you want to build that on top of a platform that's an internal tool builder. We use 2, 3 at 9x. Alternatively, first of all, to keep our to stay sharp, let's say. No, actually, we use more than that to stay sharp. The ones we use primarily, like where we have our internal tools, the main internal tools that we use are Notion and Airtable. And Ian's going to give you one last example with our content machine with Airtable that helps us manage the content and get awareness, and so that you end up in webinars like this one.
Exactly. The machine.
The
And
machine.
that's like on what Alex mentioned there is why was there not something custom that we or something pre-built for us? And that's because from in our content strategy, it's quite unique. We have a unique different tools of YouTube videos, create AI and automation tutorials that we create these live webinars. So we wanted to build something ourselves. Here's our content machine where we do a lot of content repurposing. And right now we're in the events section. And as we're wrapping up towards the end of the year, it's actually quite proud, like a proud moment of we've managed to, I think, do over 40 live webinars this year, which was insane compared to where we were at last year. And having a system like this really makes a massive difference. And maybe one thing before I go and show this, that is also something we'll be releasing next week for the AI Builder program, is the recordings of all of these live sessions, typically between 60 minutes when we're staying on time,
More
up to
2 hours.
2 hours when we're not. All of these will be available. All the recordings of these over 40 sessions that we did last week will also be available to watch in the AI Builder program.
It's like the hot release on Netflix, It's the season 1
Exactly.
of 9x Live.
Just the dump.
40 episodes.
Exactly.
What are you doing for Christmas?
Exactly. And so for each event that we have a record in here. This is next week's session on building an AI first SEO system. We see the assets that we use both on sharing on social and the Lu.ma event. We have the event description. And now we have a bit of a system that helps us actually get awareness from this. So I can generate a Slack message to send to the community. What I want to showcase you here is I just have a one-click button to generate some posts. Just like on the sales butt kicker, we also, as we start, let's say we're working with a company, we're training them. This would also be the time that we probably go and forget to post on LinkedIn. So what this one is doing is when we create one of our new events, we can just click generate posts. And what we use AI for, and this is again, it's not hallucinating because we're providing the context. It's all backed in what is actually happening in the session. So it's going to go pull all the information about the event description, the title, the speaker that's joining us, and then we're going to go and create different posts that myself, Piv, and Alex can post on LinkedIn. We have here directly the assets we can choose from, and already a first example that matches our style and how we actually go and promote these. And this just makes the time so much easier. And also just stops probably, I don't know about you, Alex, maybe 70% of the cases, I'm still editing this. There's never a time where I say, okay, perfect. Thanks, Claude. Let's go and do it.
Yeah.
But I'm so much more likely to post when I have this in front of me than if I have a LinkedIn page with a blank canvas.
Yeah.
Right. And we can do this across so many different content pieces. We also have then AI create a first draft for the email that you'll receive tomorrow after the recording, the LinkedIn post that we recap. So all of these different assets that we need that all stem from one core content piece, I guess.
Yeah, no, it's very helpful. And there are weeks where we can spend more time thinking what will we share to the world on LinkedIn. There are weeks where I have no time and we just need the post to be out and say, okay, here's the next event, please join. And in those weeks where we didn't have time, in the past there was no post. And there's a big difference between you posted something, sometimes it's just good enough, yeah, and you want the post to be out. And like those systems will help us um, bombard you on LinkedIn, hopefully with good content. But they are essential if we don't want to end up working 15 hours a day and yet still be present, have a presence online, keep you up to date on the next events, the next YouTube video, the next tutorial, and so on and so forth. So yeah,
And I
this is a
think
system we couldn't live without, and that's very like going to prove very useful in the future as we want to post more.
and I think even on top of LinkedIn posts necessarily, this system is what has allowed us to do, like it was our goal to run a live workshop every single week. This time last year, we weren't able to do it because we didn't have these systems in place. And then it's like, okay, we don't have the assets ready, we don't have the content ready. Okay, like let's postpone and we do the workshop next week, right? And having a system like this, knowing that X% of each process of each setup of an event is automated and AI supported or AI first, allows us to actually do these live sessions every single week and still have 112 people in here when we're almost half an hour over time. Looking 1 year back, we were probably like 10 or 12 people because we just didn't have the system in place. And it's something that compounds as you do this more often. And now it's been great to see how many people are joining us each and every week. Perfect. So that was Alex, is there a quick recap or we go into some Q&A?
Now we can go to some Q&A. Right, share my screen again. Ah, no, that's the last slide. The end. Any
Yeah.
questions on what we covered? Was it entertaining? Was it educational? Was it good?
We have a few questions that I see were already answered. Thank you. It was great. Well done. Amazing.
And maybe one thing to specify. So the last part of the webinar today on the use cases, so we covered 5. In total, it's going to be 15 or 15 plus, depending on how my Christmas goes. Eight's going to be recorded in the AI starter and it's going to be available for free.
Perfect. And maybe just one question, because I see a few people asking about like different tools that we cover in our courses. The way we really approach this, so there was a question there about Google Workflows. That is something like tools are changing very often, right? And we record some content on different tools. You like YouTube videos and live sessions is probably the first area we'll go when we want to make some content on a tool, because we can just be quicker with it. It's not doesn't need to be as polished as creating a lesson for our course. What we really teach in the courses are evergreen concepts that allows you to build no matter what platform you're using. So we really think a business person should understand how to use APIs or how to set up a database. Whether you're setting up a database then in Airtable, in Notion, or even your CRM, you'll start realizing databases are everywhere, and how you're in HubSpot, your contacts and your companies and your deals connect to each other. That's a relational database. What we try and do in the AI Builder program is really show, okay, what are the evergreen technical skills that will allow you to build on any platform? And then in our tutorials, in these live sessions, and on our YouTube channel, we try and give you some specific recipes, I guess, of like one specific tool or one specific use case. But it's really about you understanding these core technical skills of prompting, APIs, automations, databases, and that should give you in like put you in a good stead, as well as showing you how to actually identify these use cases.
Any favorite tools for API integrations? Um, we use pretty much everything. So I think it really depends on your skill level and the time you want to invest in building integrations. Um, I think there's two tools for me that are on the far end of each other. And then you have like many automation platforms and agentic platforms between. On the far end of control and complexity and learning curve, you have an A10. That's very popular and it's a great tool, but it does have a steep learning curve. Uh, and people are raving about it because you have like an insane level of control. It's open source and so on. And on the other side, I would put tools like Lindy that are really trying to abstract as much as possible away for you, uh, but will leave out. If you simplify, you remove a layer of control, and if it's simpler, it's priced in. And so that's why also some of the Lindy workflows can't live if we start to have high volumes. We're not really we will like a Lindy workflow that starts to be high volume will graduate to another platform. In the middle, you have Zapier, you have Relay, you have Make. Like all these platforms are really good. If we make any content if we make any content on a platform, I'm going to have Gumloop also in 2 weeks, I believe.
Yeah.
Gumloop is a great platform as well. If you see us talking about a tool, we recommend it. Like it's a good tool. Now it's really about you. How much time are you going to spend building and learn and maintaining stuff? If you want to do things on NA10, you're in for spending some hours in the tool. So you better like it. If you don't have time like me anymore, like I just prompt stuff with Lindy and then I tell my team to fix it. So it really depends on you. And all these are great platforms. We love everyone.
Absolutely. And then Mitchell had a question on which AI model for the best for PDF doc, like extracting
That's for you.
information. Yeah, I would say like then you also said without it being too costly. That's the one we have to balance. The two that I've tried, I use either Gemini. That same example I've built on both Gemini and Anthropic, and they were the first two to really nail documents, and also the fact that they understand visual elements inside a PDF. So I was able to even upload one of our full presentations as a PDF, and one of the slides just have visuals, and it also includes that in its summary. On cost there, that's where you really would need to go and do your work and assessment and assess those two. That's one thing that we don't do so much here at 9X, I guess, because we're in a fortunate position. We just see how valuable all of this is, and we haven't got to the position yet of like, holy hell, Google just invoiced us 3K because of our Gemini consumption. We're nowhere near that yet, and we're using it we're using it quite a lot, but obviously we might not have the scale of a
Yeah,
Siemens that's processing millions of PDFs. We have a fraction of that. Perfect. All right,
awesome.
with that, I guess we have gone well and truly over. We need to get some rest before a big day tomorrow. Hopefully, everything goes smoothly.
What's happening tomorrow, Jan?
We have a Black Friday promotion that's going
Oh,
live
Black
today.
Friday, the best deal of the year.
Only time in the year
Easy,
to get it at
easy
the price.
conclusion.
Exactly.
Black Friday rhymes with 9x. All right, I'll stop my bad jokes. Hopefully, see you in the next webinar. See you on the other side after Black Friday. And thank you for all of you who've stayed till the end with very interesting questions and so on. Hope you enjoyed all of that.